Hi, everybody. This is Lauren Jane with Artbusiness Secrets, and I am coming here to you live today with Becca. We are doing an interview, and we will be sharing this into our groups in just a second here. But first, I just want to tell you that Becca is an artist, educator, and a blogger from Orlando, Florida. And why don't you start telling us a little bit about yourself while I share this into the group, and then if you have a second, you can share it into your group.
Sure. So like you said, I'm an artist and creative business educator in Orlando, and I started getting a little bit later in life. I actually started out in the healthcare industry, and I always had admired everyone else who had that special talent of creating, and I always was creating things over the years, but I never really got to painting until much later. But once I did that, I realized that that's what I wanted to do. So in 2013, I opened my LLC. And at that time, I realized very quickly that to be successful with a career in art, that you really needed to understand business. And so I was doing everything that I could to learn as many business skills as I could, trying to find out who I could get help from. And I realized that there wasn't that much education out there. It was very little. And what was out there told a lot of what they felt you needed to do and why you needed to do it, but not the how. There was no plan. So I very quickly opened up my Facebook group called Marketing Your Creative Business. And basically what I did was I began studying and sharing what I learned and sharing what I was finding other educators were sharing as well to help other artists along the way. It just was quite a struggle to start from scratch and have to learn everything on my own. And I don't want other artists to go through that. So my goal for myself is to be able to help other artists learn the skills that they need to succeed to create careers out of their own passions. So I had that group ever since, and that's one of my big focuses, along with, of course, art.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to give you a second for you to share this into your group. And I'm just going to welcome on who we have on here. Thank you guys for watching. We have Rebecca Fanstock, Andrew White, Carissa Fortuna, Will Perez, Mark Barrett, Cheryl Jones-Evans, and Wendy Slamon. I apologize if I pronounce anybody's names wrong, but thank you guys for being on here and watching. Feel free to question, comment as we go. We're going to be talking about branding, using social media, using Instagram, and Becca is an awesome expert at all of these things. So we're so happy to have her here. Feel free to hit the like button and the heart button. That helps get the video out there. I know that I mentioned I wasn't going to share this on my personal page, but I learned a lesson today from Ben Perry, Mr. Organic Marketer himself. Apparently, you cannot share if you're doing a live video in a group, you can't share it to another group. So I decided to go from my personal page so that we could share it into her group and mine. So you guys are getting some secrets. If you're not in the group, you should join both of our groups.
Absolutely.
All right, so you got to share it in. We're good to go?
We're good to go.
Awesome. So my first question, when I think of you, I always think that you have the best branding. I've noticed that there's a consistency of your art and then how you come across in the world. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes. Marketing is really important, and you can't market unless you understand your brand. And I think that is an issue for a lot of artists. You have to, branding sometimes is seen as a bad word, and it's really not. Branding is the foundation of your business. It's what you are all about, and you need to understand what that specifically is and have consistency when you share that in anything and everything, from the photos that you use on your website, the content, the words that you're using, your blog, your newsletter, what you share on social media. You have to have consistency and continuity. You have to understand that what you are sharing makes sense to your audience. And so that branding is very important, because if you don't have the consistency and you don't have the continuity, it's very hard for someone to be attracted and stay attracted to that. It's hard to engage people if you don't have that. So it's just something that I'm very passionate about and I love teaching about, because if you don't have that foundation, you just don't have a stable source of full time.
It's true. I know one thing I think of is you had an example of yourself of three character traits. I don't know if you
Yes.
remember, and that it kind of summed up almost like your branding.
It sums up my branding and my personality as well. Because of course, I mean, as an artist, typically who you are flows into your work. I mean, that's common for all of us. So yes, the Facebook had that post. It was I don't even remember what exactly the
It was like the three characters that represent you or something.
yeah, that was the gist of it basically. So mine was Morticia Adams, Pee Wee Herman, and Betty,
And then
which completely sums up my personality and completely sums up my work as well. My branding definitely consists of, oftentimes you'll hear people speak about brand words, and those words are what represent your business. And for me, my artwork is definitely these three things. And the words that I use for that are surrealism, whimsy, and it's also narrative. All of my work tells a story. It definitely looks like it's something that came out of a fairy tale. And the surrealism aspect, if you expand on that term, there's humor, there's fairy tale like items and dreamlike things. And then the Pee Wee Herman aspect of all of that is also enrolled into the whimsical portion. There's a sense of humor to it. And that's my personality, that's my brand, that's my artwork. It's all rolled into one. So whenever I'm doing things like, for example, making a post on social media, or I'm writing my blog or making a newsletter, I want to make sure that those elements are all within that content. I don't want to vary outside of that because it doesn't make sense to my brand. So when you stick to those things and you understand what your foundation is, you consistently share that to your audience, then that's when you really have a strong brand. And that's when you become recognizable. And you want to see that, again, not just in your words, but even in your photos. They aesthetically want to have that same look coming across them. So it's not just the words, it's the look, it's the aesthetics, it's everything together.
Okay.
So whenever you're making posts, whether, again, social media, a blog post, what have you, you want to make sure that those elements from your brand are being expressed every single time. And you have to question that, because if it's not, then that may not be something that you want to put out to your audience.
Very true. Is it too hard to grab that picture behind you? I see you have some of your art.
Yes.
People don't know. Yeah, looks like a purpley one of the girl in the background.
Yes. This is part. Actually, I'll get you a little smaller. That was kind of big.
Okay.
That's part of my sideshow series, and this is one of my little girls here.
Yeah, so that's a good example of your art.
Yeah, definitely whimsical. There's definitely an element of dark, to it, surrealism, and there's always, it's narrative. It tells a story. Each piece tells a story. So that's what I make sure that I'm expressing whenever I am writing content, taking photos of my work, making sure that those things are expressed at all times.
Definitely. I mean, and I always I think of your hair with the extreme colors. Your entire branding of how you look and how your art looks all goes together.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just an extension of me. It's all natural. It's all me. Definitely. And that's you don't. Again, branding's not a bad word. It's just understanding specifically who you are, what your business is, and how you display that to your audience. That's all it is. It's all natural. It's all you. And you just have to sit down and really think about what elements of you are your brand and how do you want to express that to your audience.
Definitely. If anybody has any questions on that, let us know. Roland, I see you're on here. And Sarah Saw, hopefully I said it right. Michael Plato. Todd Thornberry. Wow, we have a ton of people. We're up to 9 right now. And I think some people are coming on and popping off, but thank you for being here, guys. Let's see. So on Instagram, I noticed that you're a lot more on there than I am. What do you think of Instagram for being an artist, and how do you use it? Just to create an online gallery or to actually make sales?
Both, actually. Platforms like Instagram and Pinterest, for example, are very visual. So it's a fantastic opportunity to give a a very visual um, expression and example to your audience of what your business is about, what you are about. Um, I don't know if you know, but Instagram was bought out by Facebook, so it's the two are the same company now. And Instagram was in its beginning stages a fantastic opportunity to have exposure to your total audience. Algorithms have been placed, things have been changing a bit, but I still, out of all the platforms, Instagram is the one where I have the most engagement, the most sales, the most response to anything that I post in comparison to any other platform.
Wow. Okay, so you prefer that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's where I focus my time. Absolutely.
That's awesome to hear. Okay. Wow. Any tips for using Instagram as an artist?
Sure. Well, just generally speaking, for social media, I think that you need to find the platform that you love first. Because if you're not in love with it, it just doesn't, your posts don't come across the same way. I know that social media can be really overwhelming for a lot of people. And if you just try to concentrate on one and learn it well, you're going to be much more effective than trying to post on multiple platforms and just hoping for the best. You can always cross promote, cross post those onto your other platforms. But if you're just starting out, really focus on just one, learn the ins and outs of how it works, and you're going to find success that way, no matter what platform that is. Instagram just happens to be my favorite, and it happens to be where I get the most response, so I focus there. But it may be Pinterest for someone else. It may be Facebook. Facebook is not dead. I know that it's a very, very challenging platform at this point, but
I heard sometimes from like a younger crowd that it's for older people, and I'm like,
I've always said that.
Am I older then?
Yeah.
Have I reached that age?
Everyone says that, but statistically, Facebook is the most used platform of any social media.
All right.
So, I mean, everyone's on there, so I definitely think it's great to take advantage of it.
So Roland says, I'm terrible with that. Never know what photos other than paintings to upload. So I think he means on Instagram.
Sure.
So you upload other photos besides your art?
Absolutely. For my business, personally, I am the brand. And my educational courses and my artwork are my products and my services. So it's not just about my art, because I do multiple things. And making myself the brand allows me to pivot. If I ever wanted to shift things a little bit in my business or add something to it, for example, I used to do photography, still love it. I would love to add that in one day. I don't have to start all over with my business branding. I can shift that by being the brand itself, and it's not going to cause much of an issue with my audience, my following, and having to start from scratch again. So what I do is I pick a certain, a handful of things that I would like to share with my audience. And of course, one is my art, works in progress. I share parts about my personal life. I share parts about creative business education. So I have this, a certain protocol that I create when I'm looking to post on social media. I stick to those items. For example, if you constantly talk about your art, your process, maybe a little bit about your personal life, and maybe a couple of interests, and all of a sudden you decide to start sharing your recent trip to Europe, and you never share any of your travel photos or experiences, and you just post after post after post of that can actually cause people to want to unfollow, because that's not what they expect from you. You want to make sure that you set up an expectation for your audience. You want to let them know what to look forward to. So by choosing those things that you want to share and keeping it, to those things only, they start to know what to expect and look forward to, and they get excited about that, and they look forward to your posts. So for Roland, that's something you can think about. You can, of course, share your art, your process, works in progress. You can even share, maybe if you go to a lot of art events in town, maybe share some photos of some of the gallery shows that you go to, or other events that you like to attend with other artists. Include your audience in your art life. They love learning about the person behind the art. It's not just the art they're interested in. This is society of sharing and connecting, and people want to know more. And when you do that, it strengthens your brand connectivity to your audience. And instead of just having a follower, you have a really fan.
Definitely. Yeah, I think sometimes it helps to make it seem like you're more real when you do other things besides just art. So,
Yes.
hey, I actually have a life outside of this as well, even though it's my passion, and sharing a little bit about who you are besides being an artist. Let's see, we have another question. Michael Pilato asks, does she use acrylic paint and what other artists inspired her? Last question, has she done public art such as murals? Thank you, great interview, getting an Instagram account. Oh, he's getting an Instagram
Awesome.
account because of this.
Very cool. You'll enjoy it. Definitely.
Awesome. So,
I actually
acrylic paint?
I actually do mixed media. A lot of people think it's all paint, but my characters are typically done in color pencil.
Okay.
And I do a layering process. So I have color pencil, acrylic, pastels, alcohol ink, sometimes clay, and collage. So it's a huge alchemy and layers after layer after layer to create what I make.
That's awesome. Yeah, I thought it was paint too, honestly. And then what other artists inspire you?
Gosh, right now I'm really into Dan May. Instagram is a fantastic place to go and look at artists' work in one big huge gallery. But Dan May is excellent. Curtis Rankovich is someone that I'd love to follow. Dustin Baylor, he has his work lately has just been amazing. He's got some amazing series coming out. His work is very fairy tale like as well. So I'm very drawn to that, of course, because that's what I'm interested in making myself. Matt Grace, of course, he's a famous pop realist, fantastic work. So there are a lot of inspiring artists out there that I love to watch. I really get my personal inspiration from others' work and from colors and, of course, fairy tales and nursery rhymes, things like that. So that's primarily where it comes from.
That's fun. Have you done any public art, like a mural?
I just have to think about it. I have done murals before, but it's been a very long time. Gosh, I can't remember. It's been so long, but yes, I have, but very few and far between. That's not my type of work.
Okay.
I love doing the layering process that I've gotten into, and it's kind of difficult to do that on a larger scale.
Definitely. Andrew White says, do you have any concerns about piracy? So I'm guessing he maybe means like stealing your work, like when you post a photo of it. I'm guessing that's what he means.
There's always the risk for that. There's not a whole lot that you can do about it. If someone is doing that, the first thing I would recommend is send a cease and desist letter. By law, your work is automatically copyrighted. It is your property. It's not to be used without your permission. You can pay to have that certified, but all that really does is helps you stand up a little bit more if you have to go into court.
Right. Which is only worth it if they're making a lot of money off of your art, probably.
Right. In most cases, there's not a whole lot you can do about it.
Yeah.
But a lot of times just sending a cease and desist letter stops it.
True. Do you ever watermark your stuff?
I used to, but it's very easy for someone to take that off and reproduce if they want to.
That's true.
So I stopped doing it.
Let me see if we had any other questions. Roland says, this is true. Thanks. How often do you cross share with Facebook?
Every time.
Every time. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I start from Instagram. Basically, what I do actually is I write my content ahead of time. If I'm going to do a real time post, it's with Instagram or Facebook stories.
Okay.
Because I have a very particular brand that I want to share, and I want to make sure that my content fits that brand. And posting on the fly sometimes can be distracting with that. So I write my content ahead of time to make sure that I'm sharing, the new work that I have, and maybe a new blog post if I have something new coming up with business education. And I want to make sure that I'm staying consistent with that. So I usually start with Instagram because that is where I focus my attention. and I immediately cross-post that to my Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter. I don't do as much Twitter as I used to. That's just not an area where I find a lot of artists being super interactive, or our audiences. But I do still share it there, but to Facebook and Pinterest immediately every time.
Awesome. Okay. Rebecca is asking, if you do different kinds of art, would you recommend using different accounts to promote it? She does graphic design, traditional art, and photography, for example.
That is a fantastic question.
I kind of look here all together. What are you saying?
Yes, because like I was saying earlier, I am my brand and my business education courses and my art. Those are my products and services. So I can put that under one umbrella, and it doesn't seem distracting. If you go to my website, it's beccabasic.com. It's BECCABASIC, like basic. And you go to my blog, you'll see that I have a very big variety of subject matter. I write it's targeted towards artists because I do business education. And then I target it to fans of my art because you, of course, want people to purchase your work and they may not be other artists looking for business education. And then I have a portion that's for just personal things that I share. And the blog all runs together, but I actually have it to where it can be separated if you click on those links. So I can share all of that under one roof and not be distracting to the audience. If you make yourself a brand, what happens is if you post something that may not, for example, if I post something that has to do with business education, my fans that are just there for my art are just going to be like, oh, okay, well, that's just something else that Becca happens to do. Right. They're still going to be engaged because the next post might be something directly aimed towards them. So if you keep that variety and you can use yourself as the brand, I think you can definitely do everything under one roof, especially because most times you'll find continuity between those different mediums. It's still you, it's your style, and that leads through everything that you do. If it was something that looks like 2 or 3 people, totally different people created it, then maybe I would consider separating it. Yeah. Otherwise, I would try to do it under one umbrella.
Like maybe if you're doing boudoir photos, but you're also doing cartoon for children, you want to keep them separate. Something like that would be a good separator. So Roland says, how about Art's Facebook business page? Do you have a business page?
I do.
Okay. And do you like using that as well as your personal page?
I do. I made a decision a long time ago to make my personal page a business page, because my primary reason for being on Facebook is to network and to share my work with people. So I do still have my business page. I post there first. And sometimes I will share that to my personal page, or I will just make the same post directly onto my personal page. The algorithms are constantly changing, being added, and lately the most recent information that I heard is that if you are prompting people to comment and like without it being organic content, you're being pushed down to the feed and not being as visible. So there are challenges, and like I said before, don't let those things overwhelm you. Pick your favorite platform, study it inside and out, and focus on that. And for me right now, I'm just sharing to Facebook, personal and business pages, but it is not my focus. Learning about Facebook ads and diving a little deeper into that is on my to-do list for sure, because it is amazing the number of people that I've seen that have started up businesses and within just literally months have a massive following. But these are people who, again, studied it to a T, learned about Facebook ads, used their finances strategically to help build an audience through marketing, and they're doing quite well.
Definitely. So I'm going to move on to one of my questions. It's great that we have such an engaged audience asking so many questions. And it's covering some of the things I had. I guess your tips on using social media, which is what you've been talking about, honestly. And you talked already about if you're posting a whole bunch of vacation photos all of a sudden, that's going to confuse people.
Right. Keep things consistent.
Any other tips of like using social media to sell your art that maybe you haven't already covered?
Let's see. What have we not talked about?
I feel like we did cover a lot, actually.
We did. I think that creating a marketing plan with social media is important. Plan out what you want to share, be consistent with it. That strategy really helps you to know what you're going to post, when, and how you're going to post it. It reduces the stress of sitting there trying to figure out what the heck am I going to post about today.
Right.
It gives you a plan, a methodical plan, and that way you can help plan if you have an upcoming special or sale, or if you have a series that's coming out, you can strategically plan to help promote that. So I think, creating a marketing calendar for yourself, a plan for what you're going to be doing, really can help boost that social media engagement. Work on your content, take your time to think about what you're going to say and write to your audience. You want to be able to tell a story of you and your work. Audiences want to know that, they want to understand that, and that's how you create engagement. You hear the word engagement a lot with social media, but it extends far beyond that. It extends to your blog and your newsletter, the content on your website as well. You're trying to not just get followers, you're trying to gain raving fans.
Right.
That's what you need to think about when you are posting anywhere into social media.
Very true. And on planning, since it's the new year, I know that we've been talking about like goal setting and planning for the year. What do you have to say about that? I know that you've done a few posts regarding that.
It's extremely important. You need a path. You need a path. You need to know what you're doing and how and why. What I do is I set my goals for the year, and I break those down into quarterly and then monthly tasks. And that way I have a piece each along the way that I am completing to get to my ultimate goal. If you look at a goal, it's overwhelming. You've got to break it down into actionable steps so that you can actually accomplish these things. So I just released a free goal planning calendar for 2018 to my newsletter subscribers. And this particular calendar, you can print it in your at-home printer, or actually you can take it to a local printer and print it up to 12 by 16, so you can put it on your wall, which I highly recommend. And it breaks down exactly like I do. This is the actual calendar that I designed and I use. It breaks everything down to quarters and to months, so you can see what you need to do next and move on to the next thing until you hit that ultimate goal at the end of the year.
Awesome.
I do recommend that you not have too many goals. I would really shoot for no more than 3, maximum 5. If you can get it down to 3, the better. If you give yourself too many goals, your chances of finishing them are much, much less.
Yeah.
Pick what's most important to focus on and really hone in on that. Break it down into actionable steps, and you're going to get a lot more done than you ever thought you could accomplish. You may even finish those goals early, and then you can add more if you want.
That's true. Like, set yourself up for success, not for failure.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Let's see. So Michael Plata says, great interview. He has to go paint, but he's going to finish watching later. Thank you, Michael. Let's see. We have a lot of people who joined. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Roland says, strategy and timing, so true.
Absolutely.
Roland did mention something about paid leads. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. I haven't done any Facebook ads where I actually pay for them yet. Have you?
Very few. I've done that in the past, but it was the algorithms and the way things were set were very different than they are now. Now it's a whole new ballgame.
Sure.
If you're interested in learning more about Facebook ads, I came across an educator recently, and her business is called Brilliant Business Moms. And she has a course called, I think it's Facebook Brilliance, but it's only released, I think, a certain amount of times a year. But that is a course that I've been hearing a lot about, that it sounds like she really knows the ins and outs of Facebook ads, and has taught a lot of people who are just praising her name. So that might be something. Like, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the woman who runs that business, but I know that her business Brilliant Business Moms.
Okay, we can put it in the comments later if you
Sure.
want to. So yeah, I've covered pretty much all my questions. Where can people find you if they want to find like your website or your group?
Yeah, like I said before, my website is BeccaBasic.com. It's BeccaBasic, like the word basic. And there are all the links to everything that I do there. If you're here on Facebook, we have a group called Marketing Your Creative Business, and that's where I share educational information for myself and other educators. And we post just about daily there. We have a really great group of artists from all over the world and educators as well. And it's a really great place to help increase your business skills as an artist.
Awesome. Okay. Well, do you have any last points that you wanted to cover? If anybody has any last questions they want to ask, now's the time.
I think the biggest piece of advice that I can offer is consistency. Consistency in everything that you do. Be consistent in the work that you produce. Be consistent if you're on social media. You know, don't post once and then come back 2 weeks later and expect to see a growing following. You know, you need to choose a schedule with everything that you do and stick to it. Just be consistent.
Definitely. Roland has asked a big question here. He says, pricing art. Roland, you know that's a big question. But okay. All right. Do we want to try to cover it?
I'd be happy to.
Okay.
All right. There's multiple ways that you can price your art. I know a lot of people do one of two methods, this per square inch, where they do the linear inch. I personally charge by linear inch, and I do that because there's not as huge of a difference between an 8 by 10 and 11 by 14, for example. When you do a square inch pricing method, sometimes there's just such a variance in price that it doesn't make sense to the audience. Now, as far as what you charge per square inch or linear inch, that is up to you. You have to take into account the time invested, your materials, and your experience. I will say that no matter what price point you are at, what's most important is that you educate your audience about the value of your work. You need to explain your process. You need to explain what this piece is about. You need to let them understand why this is something that they want to invest in. Because if they don't have that understanding, they will not understand your price point. You need to help educate your audience about why that price point is of value.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if a painting is $10,000 or $10. It's not going to sell if there isn't value.
Yeah, a lot of times I don't think they realize how much time and energy goes into making the pieces. And if you just start to tell them a little bit, they're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Right. And that's like, for example, with my pieces, a lot of people think it's painting and you think, I'm just cranking them out. It's a many hour process.
Yeah.
Layer after layer after layer, which is why I oftentimes share additional photos, not just the front scans that I have of my pieces, but I'll do side shots, I'll do corners, and you start seeing those layers, and I'll explain how I put that together so people understand there's a lot of time that's involved in my work, a lot of time, a lot of effort. And I mean, just like for the little mermaid piece that I did here, you can't, I'll have to get up close so you guys can see. If you look, these are torn pieces of vintage book pages there.
Oh, wow.
And they're all collage. So it's not just one piece slapped on and painted over. And then I painted on top of that. So it takes a long time to do that. Even this little light mermaid side was done in the same way. Wow. So it's once you can express to your audience the value of your work, then you can demand those higher prices, and they will understand that that is worth it.
Definitely. He also asked about SEO. Do you know anything about search engine optimization?
Sure. Roland, what would you like to know about SEO?
I know, my website is through Wix, and it does have an SEO option to work on that. I haven't done it yet. I'm probably going to hire someone.
I know that I've heard some rumors about Wix being a little troublesome for SEO. I don't use that, so I'm honestly can't tell you about that. But for those that don't know, SEO is search engine optimization, and it's using keywords or phrases to help you be more searchable online. I do think that's important. I'm going to tell you guys why. Please understand that is great an opportunity that social media is. Social media pages and social media platforms are rented space. It can be taken away from you in a heartbeat. So you need to have a place, you need to have a home base that your audience can find you, and that needs to be the website.
I know a lot
And
of people.
a ton.
I know people who've been shut down on their Facebook. They go in Facebook jail because they play music in the background when they're
Yes.
painting.
Yeah.
Something some people don't know that you can't do
Yes.
unless it's
You
like
don't want to do that.
uncopyrighted music, or it's certain words or certain ways that you post can accidentally get you put in Facebook jail.
Yes.
So it makes you realize like this isn't like a right that you have to be on here, and we're not paying for it.
Right, exactly. And I'm going to tell you too, Etsy is another one of those sites where you can be shut down. And I've seen people build fantastic businesses and lose it all because of situations just like that.
Yeah.
So you need to have a website, and so many artists do not, but it's so important to do that. You need to have a home base for people to go to. You need to use social media and the like to gain a following, and you need to help convert that following into raving fans by having them join your newsletter. You need an email list, because when someone gives you their email, they are asking to hear from you. So I know a lot of artists feel like it's spammy and they're uncomfortable with that. They're asking to hear from you. It is not spammy. It's not salesy. They want to hear from you. I mean, yes, there's a limit. I know some of us will, well, actually all of us probably know what it's like to get email after email from certain businesses. It's too much. So, I personally think once a week is fantastic. If there's something going on maybe during holiday time, doing a little bit more than is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But know that they're asking to hear from you. And when you have their email address, that's yours. They gave that to you. It can't be taken away.
Right.
So if something changes with social media, and let's say tomorrow, Instagram, no one's seeing my stuff, all those people that I built there that are on my email list will still be in touch with me. They're still going to get my information. They're still going to purchase from me. They're still going to stay in touch with me.
Yeah.
But social media changes all the time, so I cannot emphasize how important it is to have that newsletter. Even if you don't have a website yet, you can go to MailChimp.com and get a free newsletter and start adding people today. You don't have to have a website to do that.
Yeah, if you're on Wix, I really like the Wix shout out. Super easy. I couldn't figure out MailChimp, but it seems like everybody else loves it. So that must be right brain, left brain thing or something. I don't know. Roland says, ugh, the newsletter. So I'm guessing that's a struggle. But
it seems to be for a lot of people. I'm going to tell you guys something. A newsletter does not have to be complicated. It really doesn't. It doesn't have to be long. It can be short and brief, just like blogs. You can have a big long post if you want, but a short one is fine too. You're just trying to, stay in touch with your audience. You're trying to have some connectivity there, and you're trying to, establish and strengthen your brand. So think of it that way. And you can kind of cross post your information. So let's say, you go to blog posts. You can take part of all of that and turn that into a social media post. And you can take part of all of that and turn that into a newsletter. What I like to do with my newsletters is I'll tell my viewers a little bit about what I've been doing. And I'll tell them, you can see the photos and read more about it on my blog and put a direct link there. So it doesn't have to be brand spanking new content every single time. We want to make what I call evergreen content. Some of you might have heard that term before, and it's content that is always usable and valid, and you can share it in multiple places. And just because you share something once doesn't mean you can't share it 6 months down the road. Yep. You have to understand that when people see your social media posts, or even when you're sending out newsletters, there's a very small percentage of your audience that's actually seeing that. So to post something once and never expose it to your audience again, you have no idea how many people are not seeing all that you have to share. And you guys have such fantastic things to share. So don't be afraid to reshare, but maybe share it in a new way. Maybe share it in blog posts with a new title and change up a little bit of some of the verbiage. But don't be afraid to create evergreen content and not feel like you have to constantly be creating something new every single day.
Definitely. These are great points. All right, so I think we've covered all the questions, and I think we've given a lot of really great thoughts and concepts and tips. So
Awesome.
thank you so much. Thank you
You're
everyone
welcome. Thank you.
for watching. And go join her group if you're not already in it, or come join my group. And what's your name again for the group that you're in, that you have?
It's marketing your creative business.
All right, awesome. Well, this is Becca Fossich, everyone. Did I say it right?
You did. You got it right.
All right. And I'm Lauren Jane, and this has been Art Biz Secrets. Thank you so much, everyone. And I will sign off live. Have a good day, everyone.